thank you for having me on today. I did this a couple times last year where I got to meet with schools and meet with students and talk about Valpo Esports. And with everything going on, I was a little worried I wasn't going to do it again. So thank you for having me on today to talk a little bit about our program. So my name is Tristan Leonhard. I'm the Director of Recreational Sports and Assistant Athletic Director at Valpo. And about 3 years ago, our athletic director came to me and said, "Hey, I know you play video games. Let's start an esports program." And you know, I was pretty excited because I play at home and I played for quite some time. But we kind of did a fact-finding mission, went to a bunch of you know, resources, conferences, and when we went to start our esports program about a year and a half ago, I had 5 students, and I knew I had enough to make a League of Legends team. And slowly but surely, over the course of our first year, we've grown. In our first year, we had 16 students. Now coming in this fall on our different varsity teams, we have over 40 students. And so it's just been an exciting time to get to know our program and to grow over the last year and a half or so. So first and foremost, ask questions if you got them. I was telling Dylan right when I got on, I get excited about esports, so I like to talk, and I like to get maybe talk too much. So if you have questions, throw them up. I'll try to hit them as we go. But just really quickly, Valparaiso University. So I've been working here about 11 years now, but I came here many years before that. I actually started here as a freshman back in 2005 and just never ended up leaving. The university is a medium-sized university. We're a smaller private school just outside of Chicago, about northwest Indiana, about an hour outside of Chicago. And for Valpo, we're heavily based in academics. We have a strong academic program here at Valpo, strong engineering, strong nursing programs, business, you name it. But we're a heavy academic institution. And really, I know a lot of schools claim it, but for me personally, we're a really close-knit community. And so when we were talking about putting together this esports program, that was our big sell. You know, I knew we had a bunch of students on campus that were kind of primed for this opportunity, but opening up this esports community on campus has been one of the most rewarding parts, and just kind of creating that home for gamers, for us on campus that kind of want to do this all together. And so Valparaiso University is fantastic. We have a free application, so even if you're just thinking about Valpo, we have an absolutely free application. If you just go to valpo.edu/apply, we have a completely free application. We also have, you know, on that apply page, you can always set up a visit. If you ever think about visiting Valpo, always make sure you email me as well, because on that visit, you and I can meet up and we can show you the lab and talk a little more about esports. So our esports program is kind of set up in 2 separate phases. We have our varsity level teams and our club level teams. And so as I mentioned, in our first year, we had 16 students competing on our varsity rosters. Besides them, we actually had another 40 students competing on our club. So just in that first year alone, we had over 50 students competing in some way, somehow. Coming into this year, obviously we've had some restrictions with what's going on in the world, and unfortunately haven't had a chance to get those club level players into the lab yet. But we're anticipating, once all of this passes, that we'll have somewhere over 100 students competing in our programs in some way and somehow. We're currently supporting Overwatch, League of Legends, Smash, Magic the Gathering Arena, so online, Rocket League, and then iRacing. And with iRacing, we're looking to go potentially into more of those Forza type conversations if some competition level will go up. Our teams currently compete in NACE, so the National Association of Collegiate Esports. I refer to them as kind of like the NCAA of collegiate esports right now. I believe over 190 schools are involved in NACE, and we're one of them. We also just joined the New England Collegiate Conference this fall. And so the New England Collegiate Conference, the NECC, they are one of 3 NCAA conferences that are sponsoring esports. The commissioner, Jacob, over there has been fantastic to work with. And it's been great. It gets us high-level competition. You know, we're playing against some of the best across the nation right now in the NECC. So it's been a lot of fun to join those leagues and continue to compete. We do also compete in, if we have title-specific competitions. So like CLOL in the spring, we'll be competing for League of Legends. Rocket League chose not to compete in Collegiate Rocket League this year, but that's because our NACE competition, if you get into the playoffs, that has an automatic into those playoffs. So we do compete in those sports-specific competitions as well, outside of our conference affiliations. So the breakdown between varsity rosters and club level rosters is there's a difference between the two, and the reason behind that is we've actually dedicated or we've given the title of student athlete to our esports competitors. Anybody who's on our competitive rosters, we label them as student athletes, and with that we try to give them almost the same experience as Division I athletics. If you're coming in and competing on our competitive rosters, you have mandatory practices. A lot of our teams actually have coaches right now. They're alumnus from Valparaiso University that came back to coach. We're going to provide you with gear, so you can represent, whether it's the custom jersey. Actually, right now I have one of our jersey. You're all getting a sneak preview. The team hasn't even seen that yet. We have our new custom jerseys in the back. And we're going to try to get you that experience much like a student athlete would. The big thing for Valpo, though, being a student athlete, is that the student part comes first. And the reason we wanted to get our esports athletes that designation is because we also have that access to the academic counselors here in athletics. So, to keep you on the grades, to make sure your students first in that student athletes, we have access to all the athletic aid that athletics has. And so you really have all those different opportunities here on campus, not only to help you succeed as an esports athlete, but to help you succeed as a student as well. Doing grade checks soon. Yeah, we'll be doing grade checks here in about 2 weeks. And so on those competitive rosters, we do, thank you for bringing that up, we do have grade minimums. Much like the NCAA has a 2.0, I believe, minimum to compete. We have a 2.0 minimum, but for us on esports, we try to maintain at least a 2.7. Anything below a 2.7, we're going to hook you up with one of those academic counselors. We're going to see if you need some extra help in a certain class or need to set up some study tables. But we do check grades quite often because, again, what I tell all of my student athletes, I want us to succeed as an esports program, but I need you to succeed after you graduate. And so making sure we're making the grades, winning games is great, but what happens after graduation is going to be even more important too. I talked for a couple straight minutes there, so I'm going to take a break and see if there are any specific questions that you might have before I talk about our lab a little bit. League coach. We do have a League of Legends coach. His name's Chase. He's a former Valpo alumnus. He's a teacher that actually teaches around the area right now. He comes back and coaches. We do. Right now our team is about, I want to say Plat 2, Plat 3 average. We had a couple seniors last year graduate that we're starting a little bit of a rebuild process. We haven't found a solid set of 5 starters yet this fall, but we do have a league coach. We meet 3 times a week for practice. We have 1-day competition, and then the coach meets with each player individually Monday evenings for individual VOD review. All right, let me bring up chat. Rocket League. So yes, we have 2 Rocket League coaches. Our Rocket League coaches are also alumnus. One is actually out of Denver. He just meets to practice. The other is from Valpo. Our league teams, or before season reset, we had 2 GCs and then a Champ 2 planned. I'd say our average was right around 1750 or so for our Rocket League team. What qualities do I look for in a Smash player? For me personally, sorry, I skipped our Anderson. I'll get back to that. For me personally, it's not about Smash. It's not about League or Rocket League. When I'm recruiting players, I'm recruiting you as a person. Put it that way. I've said this to the teams. I've said that I'll say this to anyone. Teams are going to win games. If you take a look at League itself, how many times do people jump into solo queue and rank up? We had a lot of issues in our first few years of people coming into our teams because we were so new, who were used to that solo style play. You know, I'll tell you right now, in our league team, we have someone who's a silver, you know, silver one, I think, who's coming in and doing work. And yes, he's a lower level, but because he plays well as a teammate, that's building our team level up. That's making us play better overall. So while yes, skills are for us, skill is, you know, going to obviously play a large role. We need good communicators. We need good teammates. We need people with high levels of character and work ethic as well. So, you know, anybody can build up. You know, I don't want to say anybody, but people can grind. People can work on the macro. But we want good teammates. We want those good communicators to be a part of the team. 2 GCs in-game names. Cole Rocks, I think, is one, and Tascam, Tascam. I think they're the 2 former GCs, or GCs, but new season. What do you look for in terms of iRacing? How's it formatted? Right now, iRacing is pretty new to us, and essentially we're sponsoring a driver, and we're just looking for leagues to get him into, and we're trying to just create kind of a racing team around him. Essentially, our goal for iRacing is to have iRacing drivers and then spotters with them, and enter these teams into specific certified leagues and see how they do. So iRacing is actually pretty new to us. We'll go from there. Feel free to skip the soup question. What's the Smash roster? So our Smash roster right now, we have 7 students on there. Smash is actually having a heck of a season. Smash is our newest team. Besides Overwatch and Smash are fairly new to us. Our Smash is 3-1 right now. If we win Friday, we're actually going to qualify for the NACE playoffs in our first year, so we're really excited about that. The Smash is doing really well. Drivers focus on mostly oval tracks. Mostly oval tracks. He's done a few truck races, but mostly oval NASCAR type. All right, I'll take more questions as we go. But so for our actual lab, when we started out, we had about 500 square feet, which isn't a lot, and we had about 500 square feet, 10 PCs, and we just crammed everyone into this tiny room that kind of doubled with another computer lab. We had so much success our first year that soon after I just said, hey, we need the other half. You know, and so heading into this fall, we actually took over the other half, and so we now have about 1,100 square feet of lab space. The back half of our lab is now dedicated as our competition lab. So we have 6 PCs set up with specific headsets and peripherals. We have a 70-inch TV in that lab for VOD review. But that's where we play all of our competition. That way it's a quiet, dedicated space when we are in-game for any type of conference or playoff matchup. The front half of the lab has another 8 PCs in it. We have 2 70-inch TVs mounted on the wall. Each one of those has a switch, and so the practice lab, which is the front lab, can be used anytime, you know, we have competitions going in the back or anything, but that's also where the Smash team participates. Our lab is dedicated to our students. You know, it is not open for general use. It is only open for those on the competitive roster right now. When we have the club roster coming in, we will have hours set up so the club team can use that practice lab, but it's a dedicated space. We said when we were putting our lab together that we were going to do it just like a basketball team. So if a basketball team player can go use the basketball court at any time of the day, so can our esports teams. We still focus on mental health and wellness, so we don't want people in the lab till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. But our lab is open anytime for our students to come in and grind and practice all they want. We're also working on adding our streaming team. So the streaming element is so big, not only for our program just to get the name out there, but academically as well. You know, for me, I think the esports realm is still getting started. I know it feels like it's been around a while, but I think it's still getting started. And so making sure we get people access to you know, being able to learn how to cast or digital media or putting on productions is going to be a large part of this. We have meetings set up actually within the next few weeks with our communications department and actually our Missouri Valley Conference communications department to see how we can better put on productions. So creating a streaming team, they all have just as much access to our varsity program as any other team member as well. So we're really excited to kind of go into the realm of streaming anymore. information on our team. So we basically run our Twitch and Twitter channel, Twitter accounts right now. Our Twitch is just twitch.tv/Valpo Esports, and our Twitter is our Twitter username is just Esports Valpo. So those are the two main channels we have. We're starting to do some production on some replays and some commentary from our matches to get our YouTube channel up and going. But those are the two main ways to get a hold of us for content. Our website is simply valpo.edu/esports. On there, which we haven't updated just yet. As soon as we get our jerseys in, we will be. But we'll have all of our rosters, all of our competitions, and then on there we also have our interest form. So any upcoming, high school students or transfer students that want to get in touch with our program, there's an interest form on there. I get all of those responses, and so as soon as we get one of those, we reach out within a day or so. What does the future look like of FBS titles at Valpo? To me, I'm not totally sure. Our first directive when we started was no FBS, and I think that's still a stigma of gaming in general. People see violent video games and they kind of steer clear, and in some ways, I respect that. That's everybody. That's everyone's opinion. But again, ones like Valorant, Overwatch, Fortnite as well, they're not in the same realm as the Call of Duties, as the Rainbow Sixes and Counter-Strike. So I was very fortunate enough to work over our first year to work with our upper administration to get the ability to play Overwatch, to look into Valorant as we expand a little bit into that FPS realm. I don't know if we'll ever get to that Call of Duty Counter-Strike title area, but we will be sticking with the Overwatch and hopefully Valorant in the future. I actually don't know much about the aviation program. I know it's relatively new on campus, but yeah, I'm sorry, I actually don't know much about the aviation program. All right, what other questions do you have? What can I help answer? Dylan, if you've got anything that you think of, throw it my way too.
Well, let's see. Looking at this, you talked about your practice facility. What do you think the future of that practice facility looks like from here? You said right now it's open pretty much like 24/7. How many computers did you say you had?
We have 14 PCs right now.
14 PCs. What do you think the future of that is as this program continues to grow and become a bit more focused on specific titles and teams?
I think that's something that we internally are trying to answer. We want to know ourselves, what is Valpo Esports? What is it? Are we going to be the program that has 20 different titles, or are we going to be the program that has 5? The one thing I do know that answers your question is I don't think we're in our final resting place. I think we will, simply out of necessity, need to find a space that's bigger and more suited for us. I don't think we're ever going to have the arenas, the large scale arenas or anything like that. But I do think we'll need a bigger space. I think the sweet spot for PCs, console stations, would be around 20, 24, just to get us to a point where we can rotate teams in. But yeah, I think we'll move at some point. Right now, our facility is located right in the student unit, and I think that's perfect. If you leave our facility, you go right downstairs to the cafe or the bookstore or the games room. So we are in a prime spot on campus that everyone seems to love. But yeah, I think we'll have to move at some point, hopefully, and it's a good problem to have.
And looking at that, you talked about how you treat your student players, giving them that student athlete designation if they are on a varsity roster. What does that look like in terms of financial benefits for our players?
Yeah, and that was, thank you. So right now, we don't offer esports scholarships, specifically for esports, and that's on purpose on our end. Our academic aid packages at Valparaiso University are generally much more than any esports scholarship that we could offer. So that's what, when we recruit per se for the next fall, we really try to push those academic aids. We try to push early application. Those earlier applications within the school year generally tend to get higher levels of academic aid. So the earlier I can get my recruits to apply, the better. So yes, we have a high academic aid package, and much like a lot of our sports that are non-scholarship, and that's why we don't offer actual E-specific scholarships.
So the average cost of attendance, if students are committed to Valpo early on, is like pretty affordable, relatively speaking.
Oh, I can't speak on admissions, but yeah, if applying early on, most of the time we'll have a higher academic aid package. Yes, or at least that's what I've been told.
I don't know. That's great to hear. I don't know, guys. What do you think in the chat? Any other questions? Non-soup related, please, Danny. He's developed a whole shtick this week. I'm telling you.
My wife actually just made a cheeseburger soup like 3 days ago, so it was pretty good. I don't even know what was in it, but it tasted good.
Oh my goodness. Taking soup to the next level.
Right?
What are these concoctions? I don't know. Like I've been up in the Valpo area. I also run the debate program at Carmel, so I'm
Okay.
very familiar with Valparaiso and high school and Munster, Chesterton, those sorts of programs up there. They're some of the best debate programs in the state. So been up that far northwest a few times over the past couple of years, making the trek. I'm sure if we have anyone that's interested in visiting, I could put together a trip later on down the line.
Cool.
I can drive the small bus. It's one of my perks.
Yeah, Valpo itself. I mean, I came from a really small farm town in Indiana, so Valpo was big to me. But Valpo is a smaller town of 35, 36,000 people, but it has a great downtown life with fantastic restaurants, still big enough for like Target, Walmart, Dick's Sporting Goods and all that kind of stuff. So it's a nice little home away from home outside of Chicago. Close enough to Chicago, still go into things. Close enough to Indy. I go down to Indy quite a bit. But yeah, it's a fantastic town.
And what does the student to staff ratio look like in your typical classroom there?
I actually just looked that up the other day when I was looking at our census. I believe it was 10-1 right now. So
wow.
It's a really dedicated, faculty student ratio when it comes to that faculty staff, and that's kind of, I don't know how to put it in words. When I'm putting what that Valpo feel is. People ask, I've been asked a couple times in meetings and in these kind of conversations what Valpo means to me. And for me, I always answer home. It sounds cheesy, but it's where I've met some of my best friends. It's where, I go to work every day loving what I do, and it's where I met my wife. So, Valpo just has such a close-knit community. I think some of it comes from that small ratio, if you're looking for that kind of atmosphere. But yeah, Valpo is just such a family type atmosphere.
Okay, in the chat we got here, for academic scholarships, do you go on weighted or unweighted GPA? It's a big question at Carmel.
I was just saying, and I don't know that answer right now. I believe that's actually still a question here, at least for looking at next year as well. I know there's been a couple of questions on that, and then also looking at like standardized testing scores. I think a lot of schools are looking at that right now too. So yeah, I hate to pass that along, but that might be more of an admissions question as they're looking into that.
And right now, do you require the SAT and the ACT, or are you going test optional?
I believe they just came out that it's test optional.
Okay. Students who have interest in more than one extracurricular but have conflicts with scheduling, will they be able to choose one or another, or are they able to participate in both? So, I mean, basically, looking at your players right now, are they basically only doing esports, or do you feel like you have players who are able to be in a few different activities on campus there?
It's good and bad. Almost every single one of my esports athletes is doing something else, which is such a fantastic thing. And that's something just with Valpo students in general. They're all involved in extracurriculars, whether it's fraternity or sorority life, intramural sports, student organizations, volunteering, anything like that. And so with the nice thing about the leagues we've joined, it's been easier this year than than last year, is that we know our schedules for the fall right off the bat. So first thing in the fall for our teams, for our varsity students, they knew exactly what dates they were planning on for the next 3 months. And so that was nice and easy for us. So when it came to extracurriculars, you know, they could choose or plan kind of around that. Conference games, any of our competitions, obviously we want to put our best roster out there. Again, with that said, student athletes, that student part is first. It's the reason that a lot of our teams have deeper rosters. When we joined the NECC, I had to request an exemption to have 10 on my roster. And they said, you only need 5 to play. And I said, no, I want 10. And the reason behind that is because I know things are going to come up. You know, I know for a fact next Thursday's League of Legends game, we're going to be without one of our starters because he has an orchestra. He has an orchestra recital that he has to go to, and that's okay. You know, here we want that well-rounded experience. Those extracurriculars are definitely going to come up, and we want you to be involved in those because that's going to make you a better person overall. And so, yes, we want esports. We want that priority. We want those wins. But again, we're going to make everything work. We're going to figure that out.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, honestly, it's a coincidence you mentioned that. We have a lot of students who don't just do one thing. Typically, if they're involved in one extracurricular, they're involved in a lot. I mean, we do have a fair amount of students that sort of dip their toe into their first extracurricular at Carmel in esports, and they, you know, venture off. I run 3 different clubs myself, so like I'm sort of an embodiment of the Carmel way here. So that's great to hear. We did have 3 League of Legends players today who just mentioned, like, man, I'm glad we're on a break week because we have an orchestra concert tonight, and tonight's our normal League of Legends match at 5
That's
o'clock.
awesome.
So we just had that same conflict. And then, yeah, Thomas looking to get more information regarding visits and tours. Are visits and tours going on in like a modified fashion this year for students that are interested in that?
Yeah, they're scheduling individual tours. I actually just had a League of Legends recruit on campus Tuesday, where they're doing individual tours. I know they've set up a couple visit days when everyone's off campus here in November and January, so they are setting that up too. And then there are also, I think, a couple virtual options too. You know, if people aren't able to get up here, so there are definitely tours and visits still going on for that.
All right, that's great. That's very accommodating to have those virtual options.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be cool.
Yeah, extracurriculars, you know, I can't touch on it enough. And one of the things that has amazed me so far is just the breakdown and the different people that are within our esports program. You know, I have people in fraternities, sororities, you know, male, female, student athletes, student senators. You know, it's just all the different people that make up our esports program. They're all across campus, and it's just been awesome bringing everyone together under one roof.
Thank you so much, Mr. Leonhard, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to us and our students about your program. I hope that our students take you up on a lot of your offers to see more about what Valpo has to offer them, and that we can talk to you again in the future.
All right. Thank you all so much, and have a good rest of your week.